Hello, friends. Let's put down the music. All right, that's a lot better. Let's just leave it around there. Well, welcome to this stream, which is one of my first streams I'm doing right now. And what I wanted to do with this stream is give you a helping guide of how to choose IEMs. And I'm just going to talk about my experience trying to find the perfect IEMs. So, my first pair of IEMs for monitoring was a few years ago, and those were the CCA, which is same as KZ, C10 or the AS10. And then from there, I started buying more. I got the CCA C16s, which they were my favorite for like about 3 years, 2 years maybe. And then I got into music production and started reading about headphones, which is my current SHP 9600s, and I got my ATH 40Xs, and just started acquiring lots of headphones for different things. So I would like to know, what is your current favorite IEM that you have whenever you watch this video, and let me know if this guide was helpful. So the first thing I ran into was kind of like issues was fit, comfort, and isolation. It's kind of like tuning your room for monitoring or mastering. If you're familiar with it, well, you want to have a flat room, and then what kind of speakers, what kind of flat response you want in the speakers, um, and all these things. So IEMs is almost the same. You can't just grab any pair of headphones or IEMs and expect to give you everything you want to hear. There's specific reason that you want to have a particular IEM. So let's start with the basics. I want to recommend you this website, which is called Auto EQ, just to get started. And in this website, what you can do is you can search your IEM real quick. If you have your phone, you can download an application called Wavelet. In the description, there is a video that I already made that shows you how to test IEMs without having to buy them. The only problem is that you have to consider that they might not fit you, and the price, frequency response, and the look. I mean, the look is everything. So here, let's say I use my Apple AirPods. Let's say you have the AirPods Max, and let me equalize, target, and error. Okay, so let's just go Harman over the ear, which is one of the most neutral and used Harman curve for audio. That is consumer, but audiophile, if we can say that. So the blue one is the target, and the raw is the frequency response of the AirPods. So you can see, these frequency responses are, a little bit different. There's a lot more bass. There's some dip down here around maybe 300, between 300 and 400 hertz. Then it kind of bumps up to 1K, dips down, goes up around 3K, goes down. There's a dip of 40, almost 5K, and it goes down. Okay, so that is what response look. This is without being smooth. I think that's more accurate. So what is the ideal frequency response for headphones, specifically for monitoring and audio production, and for, let's say, intended purpose for music production? Well, let's talk about one of the most acclaimed headphones that you can buy, and let's not go like a couple thousand. Let's just go with $1,500, which is the Audeze MM500s, by Manny Marroquin. So let's look at images. They're planar headphones. They're made by Audeze, and these headphones already have a couple Grammys with Manny Marroquin, and they're considered the closest thing to a room in a pair of NS10s. Whoops, what is that? Sorry about that. I have background music. So Manny Marroquin in company in together with Audizi created these headphones that kind of simulate a good room in your head with a good pair of NS10s. So let's look at what that frequency response is. So let's open a new one here. Out to EQ. And let's find the frequency response of the Audizi. Let's just go MM500s. MM500s. Okay. Equalize, error, and target. So this is the frequency response of the Audizi. And this is your AirPods. That's very different. This is what we can at least agree on. This could be a good reference target frequency response for headphones, but can we get that on IEMs? That's the question. All right. So first, let's say you want all you have right now. It's a pair of AirPod or AirPod Max, and you want to test IEMs without having to buy it. So hear me out. What I'm gonna do now is, instead of using the target of the Harman curve, I'm gonna use the diffuse field 5128. And if you can see, that frequency response is very similar to what the Audizi MM500s targets. So if you see that, it's very close. It's got the dip. Let's leave it on smooth. That has this drop around 10K. Everything else is linear, sort of. Okay, so how can we get this response? Well, very easy. What you do, it's on your phone. You go to download the application is called Wavelet. You go on Apple Store or whatever. There's a video where I test them, so check in the description below. And then what you want to do is go here, change this curve to diffuse field, right? And now you see this target, it's gonna equalize it. So it's gonna try to create that frequency response. So let's go to Wavelet. It's gonna try to do that on its own. So that is a target, that is raw. So if you can see, this is what's gonna try to do with EQs on the application. And you can know what that sounds like. Okay, you can use it as a reference. But another file that you need to download, so you download that one on your phone, and then you open it on Wavelet and just load it. The other one that you need, it's the flat response. Now that's what it changes. That's the raw. This is the target flat response, and that's what the equalization is going to do. So why do you want to do that? Okay, so let's go to YouTube. Let's say you download it, you upload it, and you try to hear it. It doesn't sound that great. It's just the flat response. It might take you time to get used to it, but hear me out. So now what you can do, once you have that flat correction on your headphones on your phone, you can go to YouTube and check out some headphones. And let's say I want to check out the Monarch MK2 sound demo, and I can go to YouTube. Hopefully I don't get someone gets mad, but I do want to recommend you Dan's audio reviews, because he's got sound demos on the songs. I'm not gonna play the audio because they might take down my video. So you can hear what that sounds like with the flat correction on your headphones, so you can hear the coloring of the phone. So thank you, Dan, for all the work you've done. There's the Mic 3, there's the Mark 2, and there is one of the songs in here. Let me put this down here. Let's hopefully it doesn't. Okay, so there's a song here. Electronic, where's the rock? It's kind of like metal. It's by, what's the band? Um, I forgot the name of the band, but let's see the album. It's this one. Here We Divide. What song is it? That song is really good. You can hear the demo. I'm not gonna play it live, but you can hear what that sounds with metal, or there's jazz, acoustic guitar. I recommend you do that. Now, there's another YouTube channel that I want to recommend you, which is amazing. Open a new tab, and he's got comparisons between headphones. So let's go to um, Hexa versus Nova, and I'll tell you a little bit about these two IEMs. There's this channel. His name is Glenn Gain Audio, and he's got tons of comparison between headphones. Here's the Truth Here Nova, which is one of my favorites, and the other one, which is the Hexa. Let's move it to the Hexa, which is this one. I'm not gonna play the audio. These headphones, these two IEMs are amazing. They're not for everyone because the fit and the sound signature of it, but he's got tons of comparisons on headphones and headphones. And this could be a good idea of comparing them. If he has them, of course, he's got lots of IEMs head to head. I really like his channel. For example, two that I think are really good to compare, especially if you're starting. It's the Hexa and the Nova. That's a really good starting point, and I'll explain to you why I mean that. So now let me jump into IEMs. So if I go and I show you these examples, like, okay, this is the audio cue correction, and this is what we're trying to do. So in reality, we're trying to find IEMs that kind of follow this curve, but with a little bit more bass response, because in IEMs, if you have this flat response, there's like literally almost no bass. So you just want a little bit of that, more of that low end, I would call it sub bass, just a tiny 3 dB, maybe no more than that. 6 is too much, and you want it not to start going up around 200, you know and then you want to keep it flat, and this is perfect curve around 1k to let's say 8k. This frequency here is good for mids and high mids. So now we're gonna go into a different database, which is specifically for IEM. So I'm just gonna type IEM database. You can start here, and what you have here now is you have tons of reviewers, and I would recommend you to go to their um, YouTube channels and look at their reviews. They'll do a better job of me reviewing, because they actually have reviewed the IEMs, which I use them as a reference. Critical, Glen Audio. There's lots of guys that have put a lot of hours reviewing IEMs, but we're gonna focus on IEMs for studio work, for live, especially for uh, monitoring live, and for music production, because I think I found one of the best IEMs I have ever heard, and they don't cost more than $500. They compete with headphones that are way more expensive, that 3,000-4,000. I have a few musicians in our church where they have custom UEs, and when they heard my headphones, they were like, bro, these are flat completely. Maybe not their cup of tea, but they're like, I could use this for mixing and mastering. To a certain degree, you gotta learn what you have, not necessarily use what I use, but pick one and learn how to listen to the music you like. Have your playlist of reference tracks. Just to give you a quick example, my reference tracks for monitoring is, very specific songs. One of them is Rattle by Elevation, because the way it was produced and recorded is during uh, the pandemic. Hopefully, I can say that. The thing at the end of 2019, and Rattle was produced. I mean, the guitars in the intro, and then it goes into this nice bass line and the singing and the voices. And since there is no crowd in there, you can hear the band just playing through big empty state room, and I love that about that recording. Um, Another one is if I want to hear with the crowd, it might get loud. It's amazing. Um, some of their newer stuff, like Elevation Rhythm or Hillsong Phenomena, um, the acoustic version of This Is Living Now from Young and Free, if you want to hear what acoustic guitars and just vocals and pads sound like, that's an amazing track. That's also on my reference tracks. Bethel, a lot of Bethel songs, specifically Ain't No Grave. Um, I use that a lot. And I have a lot of songs from Reckless Love and female versions uh, uh, with female vocals. And sometimes the same song, I will have it different versions, and I try to compare how my sound, um, just to see how the IEMs respond. So, what is the ideal IEM? I might say. So, for me, in short, it's this right here. They're called the Studio 4 by Truth Your Audio. Let's see if you can see in the camera. These IEMs are just, they have a little bit of a Harman curve, but it's very light, very neutral. They have 4 armature drivers. If you don't know what that is, it's just the type of speakers is inside of him, of the IEM, which I can show you. Let's pick up dynamic driver versus armature driver versus EST versus planar, which now headphones have this different type of drivers, which this is the armature, you know, it goes in the headphone. There's the dynamic driver, then you have planars, you have EST that simulate the like a eardrum. There's lots of drivers that go into headphones, but in IEMs you get this hybrid, which they have dynamic drivers with armature drivers. Let me give you an example. So let's use the Truth here hexa driver config, which you can tell is already one of my favorites. So just to show you real quick, it has a dynamic driver, it has armature drivers. The reason that I like is because dynamic drivers deliver this bass that is very natural, and armature drivers give you the mid and high frequencies that are precise. It doesn't mean that armature drivers don't give you good bass, but it's a little bit too precise, and sometimes you need air to move with dynamic drivers. It depends. For live use, I would recommend you use a hybrid with dynamic, and for studio work, I would recommend you to use all balanced armature drivers. So the Studio 4 is 4 balanced armature drivers, which the way they're tuned and the crossover is just insane because it doesn't feel that there's an armature bass driver in there. It feels like a dynamic, like a very precise and expensive dynamic driver in there. th- they're just great. They don't have a huge sound stage, but everything is precise and you can pick it. You can pick point where the music is, the detail. I mean, they sound they sound like very expensive over the year headphones. You know, I'm not gonna compare them to the DZs because it's a different feel. Not just the sound, is the way they feel. Um, but it's just I can't believe that these headphones only cost $500. And let's go into the comparison. All right, so let's talk about the frequency response of this IEM. So let's start with the Studio 4. So the Studio 4, let's go with all right, let's start with this. These are the guys that have um, mapped them, or they have get the frequency response of the IEM. So go ahead and follow them as well. Thank you for their work, hard work. And if I click on one of them, it gives me the frequency response. So how do I compare it? Okay, so let's put the diffuse field so we can compare it. As you can see, it gives you a little bit more bass. It's fairly neutral here. Let's put this at 0. See, it's not more than 3 dB. It's very not too much bass from 0. It's got this neutral line here, and then it just goes up around 1.5K, around 1K goes up. Beautiful, very. I mean, this is fairly neutral without being too Harman. And let me just show you what a Harman curve looks like. Let's go with the variations. No, let's go the zero red. Okay, so if I put here and I add, don't click on the ear, just click on the plus to add into the comparison, and now it gives me the frequency response of the zero red. Okay, that's I don't think it has. Okay, let's see which one's zero red. 10mm. Okay, there it is. So it's got a lot more bass. It seems like it's a lot, but it is. It's got these lower frequencies here, this dip, and just this very similar, which is also neutral, but it's got more resolving bass. And since it's dynamic, it feels that there's got a lot more bass than the soft ears. So that is the difference. Now the fit, the zero red is easier to fit because it's smaller, and the soft ear Studio 4 just isolates better because there's no vents on it. The zero red does have vents, so it bleed out a little bit more ambient noise. The soft ears Studio 4 is just like you're sealed, so you might have to play with it a little bit because it might be fatiguing when they isolate. There's just the air going into your ears, um, which I love for monitoring, for mixing, mastering. When I play live, I mean, I just love it for everything. One way to compensate for that isolation is I use foam tips when I'm mixing and mastering with the Studio 4s, or I'm behind the board and mixing live. But if I need to be very, I'm trying to pick frequencies and really mix it in detail, I'll put the regular silicone tips that come with the Studio 4s. Those tips, silicone tips, are amazing. Anyways, so this is what kind of Harman curve, and this is very fairly neutral. Now, let me compare it to maybe something you're familiar with, the Shure SE, not Sennheiser. The SE250, which is okay. We're gonna open a new tab. Okay, so that's what this frequency looks. And if we look at it, there's way more bass here. It's very muddy. There's this V shape that just, it might sound great for regular music, but for monitoring, that was my only problem with those headphones. I just had a hard time listening to my shores. For music it was great, but monitoring was just, I would have to play with the EQ a lot, and I was not used to that sound too much. I was more used to my headphone sound that can pick everything a little bit more familiar. Um, so I was trying to understand what was the problem. Also, they only have one driver. So with IEMs or any headphone that only has one driver, when all the music, all the instruments play at once, it's hard for them to replicate all the noise that all the frequencies are coming. That's why monitors that are three-way, like my favorite, my Kali NI8's three-way, Twitter, uh, mid frequencies and low mids, and then their sub port in the actual uh, monitor. It just makes it a better separation of frequencies into uh, coming out of the speakers. So the same happens with IEMs, even more with IEMs because they're in your ear. More drivers is better. Doesn't mean that it's better sound. It's just the separation of instruments is going to be a bit better in the sound stage. But there's exceptions. Anyways, so if you look at the price through Zero Red, we're really close to Studio 4 for only $50. And here's what blew my mind when let's take out the Zero Red, which is an IEM, my first IEM I bought when I was comparing sounds. Um, so I was used to the KZ um, AS10 Pro. Um, where are you? Is it here? AS. It's not 10 Pro X. Let's see. Let's go in here and look for KZ AS10. Okay, let's add this up. That is the frequency response, which is very similar to the Shure SC215. That's why people love them. I mean, they have 5 drivers. Even though KC is known to sometimes put drivers in there and they're not actually doing anything. So that was questionable, but it's a very similar response. Now, if I compare it to the Zero Red, you can see the difference. Now, this is more neutral and natural sounding than the Shure. I was like, okay, what's happening here? I can hear everything. And it's got 2 drivers, an 8mm and a 6mm driver on the Zero Red. They're dynamic drivers, and I was like, I'm hearing things I never heard before. And then I bought a couple more, the Warner, I bought a couple other IEMs and returned them. Then I run into this other headphone that I want to show you. Let's get rid of well, let's just leave it there. Let me show you this IEMs. It's called the Hexa because this is what really got me a little messed up. Look at the frequency response compared to Zero Red. It's very similar, but it's got this sub bass resolution that was incredible. Plus, it's got 1 dynamic driver and 3 balanced armatures. Even though so similar, they're far more natural and so resolving. And I was like, wow, it's only $80. And since I had the Hexa and the Zero Red, I came across this other headphone, which is called the Nova. Now, the Truthier Nova has the combination of the Zero Red and the Hexa in one, so to speak. At least people compare the Truthier Hexa with um, a more resolving Truthier Zero and a better Hexa because it's got one more driver and the resolution is bigger, better sound stage, which is important, for playing on stage. So I could have just bought the Nova and now buying the Hexa and the Zero Red, which it comes out about the same price for the Zero Red or the Hexa. But if I need to be very If I'm just gonna play live and I just need something neutral and natural, I'll use the zero. And if I need to mix and master, why not just use the hexa? So here's the dilemma. Now, now it comes into fit to your particular ear. Maybe the Nova is not the right for you because it's a little bit larger IEM. It's not as big as the soft ears, but it's bigger than the Hexa, bigger than the red. So there's this other thing you gotta think about. Now, if we compare it with the KCIS10, you can see this B shape, this muddiness in here that is not that great. So let's get rid of the AS10. All right, so the Nova is great. Now, let me try to put the soft ears, the Studio 4 in here so you can see the comparison. This is when I bought this, when I saw the comparison and I found a way to compare them, at least in the graphic, I was blown away. Watch this. That is the Soft Ear Studios. They're very close to the Hexa. In terms of this might seem like it's louder, but since it's a dynamic driver, it's very similar. It's lower for to degree. The Studio Red is bassier than the Studio 4, but it doesn't have the resolution of that low end. And the Studio 4 sounds brighter, but more detailed and more precise than the Hexa and the Studio Red, if you compare it. And I was like, wow, that is very, very interesting. I mean, the graphs are very close to the Hexa and the Studio 4. And then something else happens. I happen to just looking through the frequency response, and I was looking at the Sal Note 0 first one. Let me put away the Hexa and watch this, because this IEM, I want to make sure I tell you it's under $25. When I put it on the graph and I compare it to the Studio 4, watch what happens. I was like, wait a second, what? This IEM is $25, single driver, and is really, really close to the Soft Ear Studio in theory. I got it. It sounded great, but it does not fit me. So even though it's a great and really close to the Studio 4, I had a hard time fitting that IEM. It's a little bit cheaper, but I let him borrow to a singer, and he was like blown away. Like, I could hear everything, and this is the best thing ever. And he ended up keeping it. I was like, just keep it. It was only $25. So what's the point of all this? Well, you will have to, sorry about that, you will have to spend a little bit of money, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to find the perfect IEM. What I would recommend you is look at the graphs, look at what you like. I think for studio monitoring and for music production, the good bass could be the Soft Ear Studio 4. If you need more low end because you're a bass player, you're a drummer, look for IEMs that have more low end. Let me just show you an IEM like the Nova. It's gonna have better resolving low end, or the Zero that has more resolving low end, just because of dynamic driver. But then you can pick an IEM like this one, and this is the KZ Vader, which I have right here. This IEM, it's great. This is not necessarily for mixing and mastering, but for live use. So let me put it in here because I have the balance version of it. Look at the frequency response of this headphone. It's got this low end, but it's resolving. I have it with the down balance. It's exactly the tuning I have. It's got tuning knobs which you can bring more bass or more high frequencies. It's just great all around. You can buy a couple of these. I think they're only $50 in Amazon. And if you're a bass player, switch the tuning. If you're a singer, switch the high to mid frequency, or you can switch all of them up. If you're gonna listen to your favorite tunes, you can put them all down if you want more flat response, and you're gonna kind of try to do a little bit of mixing on the board. Um, they're amazing. They're amazing IEMs. And then it's only $50. I mean, that's great. But let's say you have a little bit more money, and then you want something better than the Software Studio 4. Well, there's a few, but for the money, I don't think an IEMs. If let's just compare it to a 64 audio. Where is it? The velour. Let's check the difference in response with those. Huh, very interesting. It's got a lot more dip, a lot more low end, and why do I bring this one? Because it's $2,500, and one of the guys at church has one of these, and when he compared it to my Studio 4, I was like, wow, it's more resolving. It's like I spent $2,500 for the IEM, and it seems that if I was a drummer or bass player, I would like the velour, and that's $2,500. But since he plays acoustic guitar and sings, he likes the idea of how the Studio 4 sounds, and with the foam tips, because you can't get it custom ears, at least I don't know. And I was like, okay, let's look at the Trio, which is a little more affordable. Huh, okay, $2,300. Okay, got more low end. Let's look at the Dual for $1,200. Okay, maybe that is a better standard. I'm not sure. I can only tell you what I hear compared to other headphones. But look at the prices on these. What's the most? I think is the Audio UT, the U18S. Let's look at the frequency. Okay, see, and it's $3,000. Okay, the 18T. Okay, see, it's similar to the KC, huh? But there's other technicalities like separation. They have better soundstage. They allowed some of the ambient noise to come through. Um, so those things. But if I was sincere to you, $3,000 compared to a more neutral resolving for $450, 500, I would pick the 400. Or even if I'm gonna be playing, I'm gonna have volunteers, I would pick the $25 ones to give to volunteers with I get them used to certain frequency response of I'm training uh, people in mixing and mastering to get used to that frequency response, if that makes sense. So personally, I have a pair of Baders. I own the Hexa. I own the Zero Red. I own the Sonos Zero One because there's two versions. There's the version one, version two that has more um, low end, which is the zero. Let's see if they have the 02. Um, no, they only have one. Which is, there you go, the Clinical 02, which is one of my favorite reviewers, Clinical Zero. So if you see, now it has more low end, so maybe that would be good for a bass player. Let's remove the Studio 4 for a second. That's the 02, and that's the original Zero. Way more low end, a little bit less high frequency. So I would pick the Sonos Zero for drummers and bass players, and the Zero Gem 1 for singers and acoustic players and piano players. Now let's go to Amazon so I can show you what that looks like. Let's go Sound Notes Zero. There it is, $22. And how much is the 02? $19. Take your pick. And then if you compare it to the Studio 4, I mean, I wish I knew about how to compare with graphics before, but I'm pretty happy with what I have. I mean, I have one of the first professional headphones that I bought with my own money. Um, I got a discount because we were signed with Fender, and I have them here. These are the FX6 by Fender. These weren't cheap. Here, my Fenders with custom ears, custom cables. These were $400, same as my Studio 4 when they came out. And they have 3 drivers in it. I think the original color, the color ended up being gold, no, red or gold. I think they were gold, and they changed the colors after. But this was like their first IEM production by Fender. Like I got a long time ago. I don't remember how long ago. But the reps, they changed the reps, and you know, I ended up keeping those. I couldn't get a refund or have them changed for something better. Anyways, let's see if they have a frequency response of the Fender. Fender, no. Okay, let's look at the 9. Just, whoa, look at that. Okay, so a lot more low end, and look at these frequencies compared to this that is more neutral. Um, it might sound good for music, but I don't think for separation and everything. I at least by looking at the graphs, I'm like, no, that's not something I want to put in my ears for this specific job. Maybe for listening to music, but how much are the 5.9, the 9? I think a couple $100. Anyways, I wanted to show you a couple more IEMs just so you can see how they graph. One of them is called the Viento, which is this is like one of the closest things that we ever gonna get to now DZMM 500s, and I'm just gonna open it up real quick. Look at this graph. Let's see if I can put a Studio 4. Um, let's see. Very expensive. I think that one is $1,500, $1,600 IEM. No. Okay, so 64 audio forte. Let's compare it to that. Okay, very similar. Let's go diffuse field. That is better. See, there you go. How much is this? Doesn't say, but it's a couple thousand. The Viento is no more than $1,500. The 12, a lot more low end. Look at those frequencies. Okay, timeless, a lot more low end. V shape, not ideal compared to the soft tiers. Okay, I think there's a lot to say here. This is more, even more neutral, but a little too neutral. This just gives you a little bit better frequencies that I might be used to by listening to plugins that have NS10s. Okay, let's look at one that I'm really excited about. Okay, the Lithium Pilgrim. Okay, see, very close. Just a little more low end. Maybe this is what you like. Not a lot of high mid frequencies. Just one low end, that punch. The Pilgrim is great, and it's less than $200. Let me find another great IEM for you. The Kinara. Let's compare it to a planar IEM, which is the S12. Okay, look, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. The Monarch Mark II, that's the one I was trying to look for. It's by The Audio. I passed it. I passed it. Should have been here. Okay, RSB, which is a very version of the 04, but same, doesn't have this higher frequencies. A little more low end, very similar. I would pick the Studio 4 over the SRV. Uh, okay, there we go. Monarch Mark 3. A lot more low end, but look at this frequency here. Very similar, very smooth in the top and mid frequencies, but it's got that nice punch. Um, Monarch Mark 2. Okay, less low end. See?
This thing is awesome. Just
And
ask my wife. She'll
once
tell
you
you. I
start
won't shut up about
choosing the
this thing.
graphs and comparing them, it just opens up your possibilities. It's just you like this graph better, or if I show you an IEM right now that my wife loves, I'm here to the software studio. Okay, it's called the CCA Duo, and the only reason why she loves this IEM is just because it's so comfortable. This is the Duo. Look at the frequency response. This headphone's very affordable and it's small and comfortable for females. Two drivers, dual driver, and it's $49. It went up, but it's got two drivers inside, and it just sounds fantastic. The soundstage in this is something that caught me off guard, and the way it resolves music because they're dynamic drivers. It's just I think it's great for $49. Um, and let's compare the dual with the trio. See, a little bit more low end, more in the range of the Zero Red with three drivers, which is three dynamic drivers, or um, let's see, they got the CRA, which is a $20 IEM. Look, it's got a little bit more mid frequencies, but look at that graph. Okay, so those who need more low end, but for singers, I think this is a beautiful graph for those who play guitar, acoustic guitar, and sing. Let's look for the diffuse feel. Diffuse field, diffuse field. Does he have diffuse field preference? Neutral, diffuse field. There it is. So that's what we have there. Um, let's see if they have any KC just to compare. KC. There's one. Oh, okay. There. CSM Pro because I heard this one's really good. Oh, see, B shape, a lot of low end. No, that's not one that I will buy. Caster Bass Edition. No, made for a drummer or a bass player. $17. Okay, maybe. Um, see the Kiwi Ears Quintet. I know this one. I heard a lot about. Look at that graph. They're kind of similar. Just this sub bass is amazing for 220. Look how they compare to a dual for $50 IEM. I mean, I know the graph doesn't tell you everything. You have to try them, the fit, the isolation, but I know a lot of our singers really like the dual. Another one is called the Tin 2. Let's see if I can find. Okay, there's a Di-Fi Tin 2. And see, it's very similar. Like, um, this is one of the first IMs of my wife, and she didn't really like it. But when I gave her the dual, she just like loved it. Um, let's see, the SimGod has really good IEMs. They got one that it's called the Super Mix. Let's see if I can find it here. Super Mix. I'm really excited. Okay, let's compare the Software Studio with that one. Look, a lot more low end, so more resolving than the higher and mid frequencies. For $150, you might question, do I really need the Software Studio 4? So I know I'm just going around in circles, just too excited about um, these headphones. But what the the point I want to give you, or the help I want to give you, that if you don't know what kind of IEMs to buy or what's the best frequency response, use this as a template. Find the one that the frequency that you might like the most. Personally, I think if as a community we find one that we can call it neutral, and for audio production, mix and mastering. Like let's just go to the ideal frequency or live use. Let's say I use the Studio for mixing and mastering, and then I have a couple the 02 for bass players. It's the cheapest, the most affordable, or I use this one that's a little bit hybrid, or what kind of headphone? I mean, I can't afford Studio 4. What do I get? What do you recommend, Carlos? Okay, buy the Hexa because the Hexa it's so similar to the Studio 4. Um, and then now if you compare 400 to 80 $90, the Hexa is a better buy for the money, at least for right now. But at least personally, I can't play drums with that because a lot of audio bleeds in, and they're a little too small to move around. If I'm playing keys, that's perfect. Sorry. But if I'm just doing uh, critical listening and mixing and trying to find things wrong with the mix, I would use the Hexa uh, over the Zero Red or even the 02. But the Zero is very comparable, even though it has a little bit more mids. If I compare the Hexa to the um, they're very close. I mean, it's amazing, but it doesn't have that resolution when you hear the whole mix. So that's a good starting point. At least I wanted to start this conversation, and I would love to know what's your opinion. What would you recommend as a neutral IEM? I mean, I use the frequencies that people are using, not necessarily what I think it should be my target, but comparing to starting point from the MM500s, what might be good frequency response. And now that I think about it, that I use my Philips SHP 9500s, let me show you something real quick so we end. Um, Headphones database. Because, see, Critical is everywhere. I love his take on headphones. I know that's just his chart. Graph database. There you go. That's what I want to. He explains how he takes them. Headphones.com. Let's see. Oh no, it's just where is it? Where is the? Let me go back. Let me find a good database. Graph database. Is it here? Okay, perfect. Okay, so these are headphones. Let me show you this because for a long time I wanted an HD 600. Okay, so how do they compare to the 500S? Very similar, very similar frequency response. Now let me throw these headphones. Mm, no one, no one has this. Hmm. Let's see. Somebody else has it. Okay, let's go. Philips. Okay, let's see. SHP. Let's see if he has it. Um, SHP. Okay, there it is. SHP 9500s. That is the frequency response of those headphones. Now let's look for the HD 600. Let's compare it to that. Do you see that? It's so similar. Okay, Now let's do HD 800S. Okay, there's a little more resolution here in the low end, but look how similar the frequency response is. Over $1,000 HD 800, five, $400 when I wanted them, and the headphones that I was using, which are these. This is like the fourth one that I buy because I know the sound for mixing and listening to audio. So there it is. Hopefully this video helps you. Hopefully this video is informative, and it's just I want to share my thoughts. Maybe I need to be educated on this. Maybe I'm just not making sense to all this, but I just wanted to show you this journey of how I came to buy what I think one of the best headphones IEMs for a lot of use, because I'd rather take my IEMs than be taking my headphones. The only reason why I have four of these because I have broke them because I had to take them. I'm on my third pair of ETH 40Xs, which I use correction with it, the same as this. I use a little bit of audio correction, but with my IEMs, I don't necessarily have to. So you just gotta learn your gear. Anyways, friends, if you have questions, let me know. If you liked it, uh, let me know. Uh, if I can improve these videos, these live streams, let me know as well. I'm open to criticism. And if you don't like the video, let me know why. Um, anyways, I'm just someone who's very, very interested in finding answers, and I don't mind going through these rabbit holes, finding the best options and sharing that information. You know, I spent a few years going through this, and finally I decided to do it live, with all the mistakes and all the things that it might have taken me too long to edit. I think I already recorded 3 or 4 videos trying to do this, and I'm like, no, I gotta do a stream. Anyways, friends, God bless you and stay safe. Let me know what is your favorite target and your favorite IEM for music production, for mix and mastering, stage use. If you're a bass player, acoustic player, output my recommendations for any one of you. And if you want to chat and talk about this, I would love to do a little video chat, and a few of us just talk about it and stream it. All right, guys, take care. God bless you. Bye.